Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Looked like you were checking things out there, Bruce, looking around there for something.
Yeah. I was checking out the set here, David. How are you doing tonight?
Where's the makeup team? At least at my end of it. Good, Bruce. That was a really exciting game. The Oilers' fifth victory in a row, 5-3 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that's tied for the longest winning streak of the year. And boy, has this winning streak ever come at the right time. And I remember heading into these last three games against Vegas, Seattle, and Tampa. Some people were worried they were going to get swept and lose all three, which was not an unrealistic fear.
Yeah.
The way they had been playing, and yet they won all three, Bruce, and they deserved to win all three. They were, I think, the better team each game. Although this game was by far the closest of the games. The grade A shot total in this game was it's tentative. You haven't gone over it entirely, and we're not completely sure of this, but it looks like it's about 12 grade A shots each, with Tampa with 6 5-alarm shots, and the Oilers with 5 5-alarm shots. So very, very close in terms of the grade A shot totals in this game. What did you think of it?
A ferocious game, very intense, and the Oilers had a really good start, and they dominated the first 12 to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and then Tampa started coming on, and as the physicality ramped up, it seemed like Tampa came on even more. And it's not like the Oilers backed down or anything. I mean, they were really both going at it pretty hard, but Tampa somehow willed themselves back into the game, and going into the third period, I actually thought they were the likelier team to win it. But big McDavid goal and some high pressure defending and penalty killing by the Oilers, and a couple of times where Tampa couldn't quite execute on good chances, and some good goaltending, which is going to be my good thing from this game, was the net minding of Jack Campbell. 3 goals against on 31 shots, so nothing really special on the statistical side. Was at 903 or something like that, and but as you say, there was a goodly number of high-end shots by Tampa. I thought he was under the heat for a big part of the game, and I thought almost no chance on the goals. All 3 of them hit the post on the way in, or the crossbar. Right, the first one was a wicked shot off the post where the guy scored on the rebound from right in front. And that was more of a defensive problem than it was a goaltending problem. Let's put it that way. And then it was Stamkos scoring on a one-timer. I hit the post. I think it might have hit the back of Campbell's leg and gone in. That's never really saw a good replay. It was a little bit delayed. You could hear the ping, and then pretty sure it hit his. But again, that's not really on the goalie. You have a sniper like that firing it on the short side. It's hard to get over there fast enough. And when you did get over there, his foot was there and turned out to be not where you wanted it. And then the third one, the deflection by Braden Point up under the crossbar, bar down. I mean, that was unstoppable. I don't think any goalie in the league has a chance at that. And otherwise, I think he was, he made a number of real strong stops. And I just thought he was really stable back there, and like pretty calm and cool, and froze the play when it needed freezing, moved the puck when it needed moving. And, far from perfect, but I thought a very solid game of net minding against a powerhouse team.
He does have good game management, and it's come to the fore since he's been more confident here and making saves. You start to notice little things like that. Like he's good with the puck, and he makes good decisions when to stop the play and when not to stop the play. Yeah, I thought he was a good thing, and now that he's got 5 wins in a row, will they just keep rolling him out there against Vancouver? I mean, it's tempting to stick with him, although at some point
I think Vancouver's the game for Skinner, almost for sure. I mean, Campbell's going to need a little bit of rest at some point because he's played now 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
With coming in LA.
Right.
in the losing cause, and then rolling off all 5 of the wins in the current streak. And his previous start was also a win 4-2 over New York Islanders. So his last 6 starts, 6 wins, 13 goals against. I mean, those are, and you know that very few of those are like defensive gems because the Oilers don't really have too many of those, you know. So the goaltending has been solid, and credit where due. We were critical of this guy earlier when, frankly, he deserved criticism, and now he deserves praise. So for me, he's going to get it.
So, Bruce, there was my good thing. This is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. My good thing, I mean, there was lots of nice goals in this game. There was the Californian. The Oilers scored a Californian, which is an outside shot that gets tipped in to start the game off. The power play goal was scintillating. I mean, McDavid's pass to Draisaitl and him hammering it in there. And Maroon, just punishing Maroon for his aggression there was, I had some choice words online, which I will not repeat, for what Draisaitl did to Maroon scoring that goal. That was very nice to see.
Leon had choice words too, it appeared to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Hyman's goal was nice. A real hustle play. And McDavid's goal, of course, early in the third period was Connor McDavid. It was brilliant. It was spectacular. But Bruce, my good thing tonight is, and I snuck in 4 extras there. My good thing tonight was the Oilers' physical response and physical play. Right from the start, it started with Vincent the Giant Desharnais. He absolutely cross-checked. I don't know who it was early in the game. I think it was one of their better players, actually, because he was out there against the top line, I think. Might have been Point. He absolutely hammered him with a cross-check as the play was going up ice, and he didn't get called for it. And I was so relieved that had happened. But he was really nasty. Then he was sent out Desharnais to kill off a penalty, and he was like hacking guys and sticking guys, and just enough, just borderline, not enough to get called, but enough to annoy them, to take them out of the moment, to stop them from concentrating. And he keeps doing that, and he's going to make a lot of friends. Then we have Darnell Nurse. There's this altercation with Kane along the boards, and Kane gets knocked over from behind by Kucherov, trips up Kucherov, and he stands up, and there's a scuffle, and someone grabs Kane. And Darnell Nurse comes shooting in there like a human missile to take out the guy who's grabbed Kane. And my heart soared. I just absolutely love Darnell Nurse's response there. That was perfect. That was, we're getting the sense again that this is a team that's functional and is firing on all cylinders. And that's the kind of standing up for one another that you see on that kind of team. And I know some people maybe downplay that kind of thing. I don't. I think it's really important to stand up for your teammates like that, and just good for Nurse.
Always has been, David.
Yeah.
All the years I've watched hockey, teams that don't stand up for one another generally don't tend to be that successful.
They don't. There seems to be a high correlation, Bruce, between standing up for each other and having some success. And look at the way Tampa stood up for each other and used physical play to get back into this game. I mean, it was all calculated on Maroon's part to agitate, fight, cause trouble, and get his fire up his team, get him back in the game, including taking the fight with Kostin at the start of the second period, which may have been a kind of a tactical error on the part of the Oilers. Like, they're up by 2 goals then. I don't know, I know between periods Bob Stauffer was saying someone's got to go after Maroon and make him answer for that. But on the other hand, you are up by 2 and you don't want to change the vibe of the game. But nonetheless, I like Kostin fighting, and I think he beat up Maroon a bit. He roughed him up. The young guy was more aggressive in the fight and got
a couple of jersey jabs in there, didn't he?
He sure did. Those would hurt. And coming from Kostin, who is a great, big, strong guy, almost as big as Maroon himself. I like that a lot. And best of all, Bruce, and this is when I honestly choked up a little bit when Kostin came to the penalty box, and Nurse and Kane were standing there clapping for him.
Welcome to the sin bin.
Yeah. I had a very strong emotional reaction. I was very happy just to see this team coming together in this way. The physical play, Bruce, and this is came right to the end, where in the final seconds of the game, the Oilers have a nothing power play, and the blood is so bad at that point that Evan Bouchard fires not one but two of his hardest slap shots right into the Tampa Bay player trying to cover him. And I don't think Bouchard makes that play in a
No.
game where the blood is boiling, but he wanted to punish. Okay, you're gonna block you're gonna be that way, you're gonna get in the way, I'm gonna pound you, I'm gonna hurt you with my shot, and he did. And the other guy tried to
Two in
fight
a
him for a
row, and the
second.
guy went after him for the second one. That was Nick Paul, and I don't blame him. I think if that had been me, one shot would have been okay. The second one, sort of 2 seconds left in the game, and you're going to wind up and hit me again. What
Yeah.
did I do to you? Anyway, it was more what the intensity was certainly between the two teams. And then somebody gave Broberry a big cross check at the buzzer too, and Philip went after that guy.
Yeah.
It didn't amount to anything, but there, right to the whistle, there was dirty stuff going on.
And
Yeah.
that's never really happened in an Oilers Tampa Bay game, I don't think. Like, they haven't been that hard fought. But that was great.
It was
That was
quite vicious.
it was like two teams that are thinking maybe we're going to meet again down the road, and they're wanting to send a message to each other. And you know what, Bruce? They just might. So I like that. I like that game. It was another huge win. Obviously, beating a really good team like Tampa Bay is big for the Oilers, but this is the Oilers team, the team that we've seen in the last 5 games. It's honestly the team I expected to see all year. And you're not going to get stretches. The Oilers were really dominant in their last 4 wins. They weren't, quite so tonight. They won the game, but it was a much closer game. But this is the Oilers that that should have come out of that Final Four appearance last spring in the playoffs. It's taken them a while to get there, but better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah, took a whole half season, but we're seeing things start to coalesce into players sort of recognizing and performing their roles.
Yeah.
Like the role players on Edmonton again, I thought had another strong game tonight with guys like Derek Ryan and Warren Fogle again that were good in the last game. And I thought they were noticeable mostly in a good way in this game. And Ryan McLeod, another solid effort. So that was a you want you want your bottom six to hold their own when the top guys are catching their breath on the bench. And lately they've been holding their own and then some. I saw a stat today that said the last 10 games the Oilers, with McDavid and Draisaitl both on the bench, have outscored the other team 15-7 at 5-on-5. I think that's the
Wow.
number I saw. It was on Twitter by one of the regulars, Matthew Panchishan, I think it was, that came up with that one. I think it was 15-7. It was like a 2-1 margin anyway for Oilers depth players. So you can't expect that to continue, but it sure is nice when it's going on, because when your bottom six is outscoring and your top six has got the kind of talent that Oilers top six has got, they're going to win a lot of games.
Here's some more good news. It's the end of the second period, and the Kings are down 4-0 to the Stars. So fingers crossed there. And the 6 minutes left in the third period, and the Red Wings are ahead of the Golden Knights 3-1.
Still 3-1.
But
Good.
yeah, the Kraken are ahead of the Devils 3-2, and there's 8 minutes left in that one. All right, Bruce, let's go to our bad things. What's your bad thing?
Yeah, I got to go to the terrible line change on, I think it was the second Tampa Bay goal.
It's the first?
First Tampa Bay goal.
Yeah.
First Tampa Bay goal. And this was the first line change, or the first sort of rotation of lines in the second period. And this was the line at the time of Ryan McLeod, Derek Ryan, and Dylan Holloway. And what wound up happening was they sort of semi-won a battle at the Tampa blue line, forced the puck into Tampa territory a bit, but the puck went right to the Tampa Bay defenseman. And for whatever reason, all three Edmonton forwards just about fell over one another going into the players' bench at the same time. And it was Ryan. Ryan was totally in the right. Derek Ryan. He was the first guy. I mean, the forecheck did in fact happen near the door of the players' gate, and he just carried on, waved to the bench, and he was first guy off. And then Ryan McLeod, he was coming up from behind the play, from inside the zone, but he was right on the players' bench wall coming up, and he too waved to the bench and sort of made a little bit of a slow change, like he didn't really hustle to the bench. And then at that moment, Dylan Holloway decides that he too, from about the face-off dot, but in the middle of the ice, relatively speaking, it's time for him too to make the change. And he goes over, and he and McLeod are deciding who goes on the bench first. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, it's like a 5-on-2 for 1 or 2 seconds. And by the time that Draisaitl, McDavid, and was it Hyman? Was it Kane? Was it Kane that time?
Yeah.
Climbed over the boards. They were at a serious disadvantage with the puck going the other way. And Tampa's players carrying it up ice. And I don't suppose that the guys that got on the ice played it perfectly either, but I just
always Puljujärvi. Excuse me, Bruce. Sorry,
it was Puljujärvi. That's
Puljujärvi. Excuse me.
Yeah. I just hated that line change, and Dylan Holloway. I'm pretty sure this is the third time that I've singled him out for the same type of mistake, making a change when he's the guy in good defensive position in the middle of the ice, and the other team's got the puck in their own zone and thinking, okay, now I can just coast off without sort of knowing that he's got cover. And there was one in I think it was against LA early in the season that was really costly, and it was just the same sort of thing, that his other line mates were changing and there was no cover, and he just left the middle of the ice, and all of a sudden there's a 100-foot lane for the stretch pass that does the damage the other way. And these are rookie mistakes, but you have to accept them. At the same time, rookies are supposed to learn from rookie mistakes. You can't be doing the same thing that you got burned on before. You got to figure that kind of stuff out. Because that's sort of a free goal for the other team. And when you're not scoring much yourself, you can't be giving up a whole lot. So that's maybe I'm overly ripping on Dylan Holloway for this one, because other mistakes were made. But to me, that was the critical one, where there should have been an Oiler in the middle of the ice to disrupt the counterattack. All of a sudden, there was no one, and the guys coming on the ice were seriously scrambling.
Yeah, we have him in our in terms of allowing grade A shots. He's done it twice before, where the other team's got a grade A shot off his bad line change.
Mm-hmm.
Once against Vegas,
okay,
and once against the Predators, and the Predators scored the goal.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was one. I'm thinking probably of the Vegas one, where he maybe even got away with it, that they got a save, but it was just this kind of an egregious change when they're just, there was no cover, and the other team instantly took advantage of the fact that it's one thing if you're killing a penalty. It's another thing altogether when a guy who's in position suddenly abandons his post and coasts off for a line change, and that kind of stuff has just got to be dialed in. I'll bet you he gets a little session on the iPad with one of the coaches tomorrow, maybe Gulitz, and they'll sit down with him and say basically what I just said. Wouldn't surprise me.
There was lots of bad plays on that goal. Yes. Bruce, my bad thing is the Jay Woodcroft's line matching. And there's a caveat in that he solved the problem by the third period, yes. and it's one of the reasons that the Oilers did well in the third period. But he went head to head with his top line against Point, Stamkos, and Kucherov. So he had Evander Kane, Leon Draisaitl, and Connor McDavid out there, which can theoretically work, except now and then Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Evander Kane all start thinking goal a little bit too much. And I think we saw that in this game on 2 goals against. They were out for that bad line change. It was their line that came out on the ice, and they all got a minus. Or excuse me, it was Draisaitl and McDavid who came out, and they both got minuses there. Draisaitl he did get to the slot, and he did fly by in the end. So I think he was partially responsible on that one. He didn't take. He could have, if he had just stuck in the slot like you're supposed to, he might have taken the shooter in the end. But the second goal, Ceci puts it up the boards, and it's turned over. He's trying to hit Draisaitl with a pass, and he doesn't. He hits never gets to him, and they break in, and it's McDavid who's just a little slow and not intense on the back check, and allows too much space for the attacking Tampa player to come in and set up Steven Stamkos for a wicked one-timer. I mean, you do not, that's like allowing Leon Draisaitl that wicked one-timer. You do not want that to happen. You have to be hyper aware that that's not going to happen. But by then I was thinking, like, why are you doing this, coach? Like, these guys are starting to get eaten alive. Because it started early in the second period. I think in the first period it was fine, but these guys, they came alive. That Braden Point line, they came alive, and started to take it to the McDavid line, and so they score that goal. And I'm thinking, don't have them out there again. We were talking about that in the comments, and lo and behold, they're put out there again. And this was the worst of the goals by quite a bit, because the puck goes back to the Oilers' end to Darnell Nurse, and he's got to make a pass. He's skating backwards with the puck, I think. He's got to make a pass up the ice, and the Tampa players are bearing down on him on the forecheck. Some players who are really good, who can knock the puck out of the air fast. He's getting forechecked, and what do the three Oilers forwards do? Kane, McDavid, and Draisaitl. They fly up the ice, all three of them, and Nurse turns it over. He fails to make the pass. Especially Kane was on his side of the ice. Kane should have been skating towards the defenseman, probably McDavid too, the center, and instead they were up the ice. And Tampa picks it off, and they go in on a rush. And Draisaitl comes back. McDavid tries to come back, but Draisaitl fails to make the play. McDavid's late on the play. He doesn't hustle back hard.
Pass goes right in front of him too. Kucherov's pass went right across the blue line.
Sure. If he had gotten on a horse, right, Bruce? If he had charged back like, Brian Trottier used to back check, New York Islanders, mandatory 1980 sports reference. And if he had done that, maybe he stops that play. And they take it to the net, and this is when Point scores, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That's when Point makes
that was the point goal.
Deflects it in. So finally, after those two plays, Woodcroft, I don't think they go out. Maybe there's one more shift against that top line by accident, but after that, he puts Nugent-Hopkins out there, I think, for the rest of the second, which is a much better match. And then in the third, he breaks up that line. He takes David Draisaitl, Kane apart.
To do that.
It certainly was. And, I said it the other game, Bruce, in games when Leon Draisaitl is the Oilers' best defensive player, I bet you they win 90% of those games. And sometimes he is. Like, Leon Draisaitl can be the Oilers' best defensive player. And I'm not putting all of this defensive breakdown on Leon, but this was one of these nights where all three of these guys were out of sync on defense, and it was good to break them up. And once that happened, and in the third period, I don't have a complaint about any one of them. I think they all did quite well in terms of their defense. They were all good defensively in the third period, and they all can be good, but they just weren't good together. I think they all had goal goggles on with Evander Kane back on their line, thinking they're going to, get smoking like they were, have a little showtime like they did in the playoffs last year. It didn't happen. And it almost cost the Oilers the game. So that's my bad thing, which, again, with the caveat that Woodcroft did fix it by the third.
Yeah, he did turn it around after we had the discussion after the 3-2 goal. And then they got basically the next time those two lines came out against each other again that they scored. And it was, Nurse, like, he was on an island back there.
He was.
He was trying to pass, and big Victor Hedman, of all people, was forechecking him, and Nurse tried to do a wall pass around Hedman. Hedman got just a little piece of it, but just enough of a piece of it that the pass hit the boards on a little flatter angle, never reached Kane, and then Kane, I don't know what he was doing because he didn't come back on the play at all. So I didn't see Kane very good in this game, I have to say, and
He had a rough game.
yeah, and so he was kind of victimized twice there. The pass didn't reach him because he wasn't in a good puck support position, and then he didn't react well when the puck got turned over because he was actually the closest guy to the defensive end when it happened. Draisaitl was all the way at the far blue line. He tried to come back, but he wasn't able to, and it was a mess. Anyway, it was. Yeah.
It was a mess, Bruce. It was a mess. Offensive players can have their moments on defense, is what I would say after watching hockey all these years, especially seeing all these great young, high drafted players come into Edmonton in the last, whatever it's been, 15 years. It's just been an ongoing, and gradually they do get better to the point now where I think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, for instance, is a really good defensive hockey player. And McDavid's on his way, and Draisaitl obviously has flashes of it, and can be a dominant two-way hockey player, a monster on the ice in both ends of the ice. So, and I'm just hoping in the playoffs they'll really tighten it up and focus and get it done. All right, Bruce, your number.
Yeah, number. I'm going to just go with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And the kind of night that he had, because he wound up getting a very important role and down the stretch in this game. And after the top line had all kinds of trouble against Point Kucherov and so on, I thought Nuge matched up against them a fair amount in the third. And let's get that number first of all. But
yeah, he does have nice numbers, Bruce. A good pick.
Yeah. Well, and they're really unspectacular until you dig a little deeper. But yeah, he played. He saw a lot of Stamkos, Killorn, Cirelli, and then he saw plenty of Kucherov and company, and most of it in the third period. And on the night, he was like just no goals, 1 assist on the power play, and 0 shot attempts. But he wound up this night +3, Nugent-Hopkins, with Oilers outscoring 2-0, and then he was no doubt on for the empty net goal as well, with positive shot shares and just very quiet. No shot attempts, 1 hit, but 13 out of 21, 62% on the faceoff dot. And this was on a night where Oilers were struggling to win faceoffs, especially in the defensive zone. And Nuge was surprising by, the rest of the team had 14 wins, 25 losses, and he had 13 wins, 8 losses. So he was doing much, much better than any other Oiler. Draisaitl was a terrible 4 out of 15 for 27%. And so I just thought Nugent-Hopkins was doing a whole lot of the little things right. And he wasn't creating shots. I don't know how many grade A shots he was involved in, but he was very safe defensively. And he also chipped in, of course, on the penalty kill. Minute 37, I think probably most among forwards, as he usually is. And the penalty kill got the job done on the against a very dangerous power play, second in the league. And I noticed him making some of the good plays and clears on that. So, like I say, subtle numbers, but when you dig into him, very positive. Played 21 minutes. So
he's really earned my admiration as a player in a way that he never has before this season, Bruce. There's been games in the past where he flashed this kind of ability, but his two-way play has been so strong. And tonight is an excellent example of that. He kept a clean sheet at even strength, which means he made not one major mistake on a grade A shot against, which is, considering his assignment, tough team against that he was playing against. That's really strong hockey. Such a fine hockey player. And he's probably going to set the record. He's in line to set the record for career games for an Edmonton Oilers player one of these seasons. I'm not sure how far off he is from that, but looks like we're
What,
lucky to have
career games played?
Nugent-Hopkins. Yeah, I wonder
Well, the record's 1,037 by Kevin Lowe. So
all
that's
right.
going to stand for another few seasons. Nugent must be getting close to somewhere between 600 and 700 by now.
Let me see here, Bruce.
Be in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking down the road into the future, but
Yes, but he does have a lot of years.
766.
700. Okay, and he's getting
So
closer.
yeah, like
Four more seasons if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
And of course, he's got 6, 7 more on his contract.
Yeah.
So,
Bruce, my number just revolves around Zach Hyman. He got 2 goals tonight. The first one was a really nice goal, hustle goal, where he Fogle steals the puck and puts it. Did he hit the net on the first shot? I can't remember. He puts it in on net, and he gets the rebound and puts it back to Hyman, who puts it in on I think on his rebound, or was it on Fogle?
Yeah, Hyman. I think Hyman had both of the shots, didn't he?
Okay, yeah, he gets it on the rebound on a good angle, but just dogged stick to itiveness on the attack, which is what he's that's his greatest trait. Bruce, he is having an absolutely spectacular season as a two-way hockey player. If he's not in the All-Star game, that's madness. I can't imagine many wingers are having better seasons as a two-way hockey player than Zach Hyman's having this year.
Great game. He's not in the All-Star game.
Yeah. Okay.
3 Oilers.
Who got in?
McDavid, Draisaitl, and Stu Skinner, rookie.
Well, good for Stu Skinner.
Okay.
But Hyman deserves to be there. And if there was a Team Canada, Zach Hyman would definitely be on Team Canada on the wing. Oh yeah, for sure.
He'd certainly be in the mix.
If you look at the top Canadian scorers, he's certainly in the top 12. And then with his defensive play, his aggression, his penalty killing, what he brings to the team in terms of two-way play, he'd be an easy choice, I think. Anyway, Bruce, he has in 46 games this year, he has 52 points. His career high for points is 54 points. He's already got 52. His career high was set last year in 76 games. He's got 23 goals already. And his career high last year was 27 goals. I just want to make sure that had been updated. Yeah, okay, it has been. 23 goals, and again, his career high last year was 27. So if he doesn't get injured, which can happen to any player at any time in the NHL, if he doesn't get injured, he's on well on pace not just to exceed his career totals but blow them away. So he and Nugent-Hopkins are kind of having dream seasons in terms of their production, and they're both doing it. Nuge will turn 30, or did he already turn 30? And Hyman already is how old Hyman? He's 30. Yeah, he's 30 years old. So they're doing it.
He'll be 30 on April 12th.
Oh, it's April that he turns.
So
yeah. So they're both a little older for players to have career seasons, but this happens too. Great for the Oilers, man, because these guys are signed long term, and this is what you want to see, is them getting better as they age, which some players do. They do get better. They have great careers in their 30s. It's really uncommon. Like, it is not common at all, but it does happen. And it's happening this year with these two guys. And they just seem both like spectacular individuals, from what I can gather of them as people. So that's a nice thing too, to see this happen to good guys, so to speak, of the NHL.
Yeah. Well, Zach Hyman, he's in a 4-way tie for 16th in scoring. So he's solidly in the top 20.
Yeah.
He's tied with a couple of guys named Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby. You may have heard of them.
Yeah.
Along with Elias Pettersson of Vancouver. They all have 52 points. They're each 1 point behind Kirill Kaprizov and Steven Stamkos. I mean, we're talking about elite players all up and down here. And Nugent-Hopkins is one ahead of those guys. And then one behind Hyman is, wait for it, Austin Matthews and William Nylander of Toronto, each with 51. And so Hyman is just right there with his old line mates, his old running mates that he played with in Toronto. And he's not too far behind his new running mates that he plays with a lot in Edmonton. So it's he's I don't think anybody expected 52 points in 46 games from Hyman. I thought he could. I thought there was more than he. I thought he got more this year than last year. But I mean, he's well on his way to 80 plus here.
He is the fifth leading Canadian scorer in the NHL after McDavid, Marner, Nugent-Hopkins, and Stamkos, Zach Hyman. So the other forwards, those I think all those forwards will probably make it, along with Crosby, Bo Horvat's next. Braden Point would obviously make it. Pierre-Luc Dubois may or may not. Nathan McKinnon would. Then you have Tavares, Skinner, Kyrou, Marchand who would make it, and there's a couple lower down players who would also make it. But yeah, Zach Hyman would be on Team Canada without a doubt. I mean, he'd be playing with Connor McDavid.
Rob Zaminer would make it.
Is he the worst choice ever for Team Canada?
You always got to have room. No, the worst choice ever for Team Canada, and I'm going to stick with this for the rest of my life. Todd Bertuzzi in 2006, the year after he disgraced himself and the game with his brutal assault on Trevor Moore, and it was that he got somehow got named to that team by Wayne Gretzky and company. And the day they named the team, I thought this team isn't going to win, and they got beaten in the quarterfinals of the Olympics, and it was just a big mistake.
When it comes to even strength points for Canadian players, which is a really good way to pick players for Team Canada, Connor McDavid is first, Sidney Crosby second, and Zach Hyman is third.
Oh.
So
I'm surprised McDavid is first. He's been racking up so many of his points on the power play.
Yeah. Well, they're going to probably use that to keep the Hart Trophy away from Connor McDavid. You know, he's just a one-dimensional player who only gets it done on the power play. There'll be some narrative, or they'll cook up some narrative.
Got it done tonight on a great solo effort with the score tied in the third period against the best team of this decade. So there's that. That was a 5-on-5 goal.
Yeah. Which Canadian players are racking it up on the power play other than McDavid? Let's have a quick look here.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Nugent-Hopkins. Marchand, Marner, Stamkos, Drake Batherson, Cale Makar. I just hope we see a Team Canada, Bruce, in the next few years when Connor McDavid's still in his prime. This is I don't want to swear, so I will just say this is a fracking joke what's happened in terms of international hockey during Connor McDavid's career so far. It is a fracking disgrace to the NHL and the NHLPA that they have not been able to get it together, but mainly the NHL because they're the ones who don't care about it and are actively fighting against it. It just bugs the hell out of me. All right.
I got two more numbers for you, David. This is, we singled these guys out last game, or doubled them out, I guess. And I'm going to do it again just to bring it up. Shot attempts with Philip Broberry on the ice tonight, 19 for Edmonton, 2 for Tampa Bay. And for Evan Bouchard, 22-3 shot attempts. Like, puck. I mean, I think Broberry did make one mistake that resulted in a Tampa chance. And otherwise, the puck was down at the other end all the time. I mean, there's no other way to interpret numbers like 19-2, and you know it was. And they were on the ice for 1 goal for and none against, and they had another real strong game. And this is again just 5-on-5, so this doesn't count the Bouchard slap shots on Nick Paul. But it's. I mean, those guys are racking up some pretty amazing possession numbers, and the coaches they're spotting them against the right, like third level competition, and this is Oilers' third pairing, but Oilers' third pairing is cleaning up on the other team's third level players, and that's fantastic because the third pairing's been a problem for the first half of the season, right? Bouchard was struggling, and he had Niemelainen as his partner sometimes, and Murray as his partner sometimes. And I think Bush plays better when he's with a steady partner, is what I'm starting to conclude.
He plays
And
better with a partner who can really handle the puck,
hmm
I think.
yeah,
I just wonder, so you can read this two ways, and I think that's really fair for you to suggest the coaches are doing this right. They're putting them out there against lesser competition, giving
I
them a
know.
chance to succeed, and they're succeeding. So I shouldn't. So that is completely a fair comment, and that may be completely the only lens with which we should look at it. But as I'm watching the game and I'm seeing them play well, I think, why aren't they playing more? Like, why aren't they playing 2 or 3 minutes more? But maybe there's a plan here to spot them, have them get some success, and build on that. So I'll just leave it at that.
16 minutes for Bouchard, 13 for Broberry. So certainly there's room there. But somebody asked on the radio today, where will these guys be in a year? And I'm thinking, well, second pair.
For
They'll
sure.
both have graduated second pair and extend the question out to 2 years. And
Might be top.
who
And
knows? Yeah.
they could be in the
Very
playoffs. They
could
could be
be.
the second pair. I mean, Bouchard was the second pair last year in the playoffs. And can
Mhm.
Philip Broberry play as well as Duncan Keith did in the playoffs last year? Duncan Keith was good in the playoffs last year until he got to Colorado, and then he wasn't good. So I think he could. I don't think it's too much of a stretch. Duncan Keith was at the end of his career, and then
Mhm.
Philip Broberry's at the start. But Philip Broberry
Yeah.
is he's really showing his class. I'm 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 tickled pink, honestly, Bruce, because I thought we'd see maybe a bit more rushing of the puck and dynamic play, but I wasn't sure we'd see such great defensive play. And
Mhm.
that's what's really making me excited about the player. It's just,
Just
just
eliminates guys, eh?
he does, and he does it. He's just on them, and they can't do anything because he's so quick and so big, and he's got a great
Mhm.
stick. So good for him. And I like that little bit of aggression he showed at the end there after he got sticked. He was going after that guy. Good for you, Philip Broberry. Keep it up.
So, and I know it's not popular to praise Ken Holland, but I will say this: that by not pushing the panic button and making a trade in December, um, giving his team a chance to play its way through the issues and giving himself and his organization and most importantly the player himself, and I'm talking specifically Philip Broberry, a chance to step into the lineup, play every night, and start to show what he could do. And at this point, I want no part of any trade that sends Philip Broberry anywhere but Edmonton.
And that's the exact post that I just wrote today because there's all
Yes,
kinds
and
of
you were
people
right
who
on.
are considering, and again in the post I made clear, like, I'm not in a position to evaluate Jacob Chikrin's game. I
Right.
haven't done the work. But the people who are pushing this trade, have they done the work, like, to really have a solid assessment of Jacob Chikrin? I just doubt it. And from what I'm seeing of Philip Broberry,
hmm
you do not trade this player. I just think you will regret that forever. Um,
You talk about Chikrin's contract and how good it is. I mean, Broberry makes $900,000 this year and next.
Indeed. So Seattle
So,
won in overtime,
oh,
unfortunately. Vegas lost 3-2.
good, good, good.
And
In regulation,
LA is in the process of losing. They're up 4-0 still, and
right?
it's
They're
the
getting
game's
clobbered.
winding down. So that's good. It's a big night for the Oilers because some of the other teams lost as well in the other conference, which is important as well when it comes to the wild card spot. I think Winnipeg lost, and
Not catching
Nashville
Winnipeg. Nashville's
Nashville
important.
lost. St. Louis beat Nashville, and there was no loser point in that game, so
Good.
that was good.
That's the main thing.
Bruce, let's leave it there.
All right.
Thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.